All right, we're gonna start just like touching on some of the events from 2 weeks ago. I know like you probably watched 8,000 video recaps, but I think it's important to
But none of them are
address.
like ours.
I think it's important to address the how the meta has evolved over the last 2 weeks, especially if we're going to talk about it in context of this week and upcoming weeks. But there were three. It was an SCG weekend in Tampa, so like three cash events: 1K on Friday and Sunday, and then a 2K on Saturday. And it was a big boba weekend with some Sabine sprinkled in, and some control, of course. Did you guys have any thoughts coming out of that weekend?
For me, like this is the week that kind of set in motion, I think, the meta that we're starting to kind of see now of like, one of the ways to attack Boba Yellow is to kind of go a little more into the control route and go deeper. And like if Qi'ra has a good matchup against Boba, again, another good way to beat Qi'ra is to go kind of later. And we're starting to see like grindier, more control things come out of the meta in response to, I think, what we saw here.
Yeah, CAD, just seeing CAD on the leaderboard was cool. Kind of led me to exploring CAD, which got me to the red, sort of in a windy pathway there. Han Blue being a little bit less present. You see it in scattered here, but I know we had talked about it being like really big. And I think some of like the control decks that Maddie's talking about might be tricky for it. The villain ones could be just on the trickier side. And I don't think it's here, but there was that that blue Bossk.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it in a second.
We talk
That's
about it
in
later,
Spain,
yeah. But that was the one that really was like, oh, that's something new. Because nothing here really is new. I mean, Hondo Blue, as George has done that before. But the blue Bossk was the one that kind of piqued your interest a bit and said, oh, that's a little different.
Yep, and so that...
I will say...
Go ahead.
Go, Mike. I was going to say, I will say, like, after seeing, George do well with the Hondo, even though, like, I know that, like, that's kind of like, I know he's a good player, so it's like, is it pilot, is it deck? It did make me go back and check that deck out again, and I have been impressed once you kind of know the lines at some of the things it can do.
Cool, and real quick, I did want to shout out Rebel Trader for holding a TTI Invitational. He runs a monthly league, and he invited people who had done well across the league to play in a one-day tournament, which was really sweet. Won by Buku. I think there was Buku who took it down. He's the only Sabine ECL in the top 8. One of our subscribers, and it was fun watching that tournament throughout the day on the 7th and just sort of following along. I think it's a really cool way to do things. Like Justin, Steve, you guys know from Star Wars CCG and the OCS, like having the monthly league culminate in this like massive event at the end of the year is really, really sick. So I love what Rebel Trader's doing, and I just want to make sure to shout him out because he does such a good job. It's something that is thankless and also catches a lot of crap from people, not because of his fault, but because of some of the conversations around his league.
Right.
But very cool event, and great to see Buku take it down because Sabine Green is basically dead as a competitive list as far as I can see.
And Mike,
yeah, I mean, RT's an MVP. Like for him to do all that work to this community, I will say, like, I was way more interested in this type of event and following a full kind of Swiss event or how however, like a one-day tournament where you're locked into a deck to me is so much more interesting than some of the league stuff out there. That's just my personal take because of the way that we play cards in that context. We don't really get to swap and stuff like that. So like this, I love this, and shout out to Buku. What a baller, just going out there and getting it done, and such a good member of our community. So really
he's been super active in the Green Sabine chat, just like offering good insights, but also picking other people's brains. Going back to the Star Wars CCG OCS, and the very first one, the finals was me versus Mike. It was modeled after the Magic Online mocks.
That was the first one.
That was the first one. Yeah. We all top 8'd. I won, and then when they asked for the trophy information, I actually asked them to put my name, not my name, but instead inscribed KTOD, and to send out. At that time, we had 4 members for the Star Wars CCG KTOD, so everyone got a.
I have it right here.
KTOD plaque, which is kind of sick.
Out of reach, cool, but I do have it.
It was one of I've won 4 out of the 6.
Yeah, that's sick. But it like I agree. Like it's not always fun to follow a league and like there are pluses and minuses to the way league play is when you're not locked in an event. But what I do like is like this meshing, right? Like we're gonna run X amount of months, and if you show to like, do well over those months, it's gonna have a payoff in a very cool event. And I don't know if he gave away prizes, but we should see and maybe get in on. I guess we can't sponsor it, but maybe we can like do something to support it because it's cool, even if it's behind the scenes. Yeah.
Right.
And then let's talk about that Spanish tournament that Justin mentioned was won by Blue Bossk. He went 12. So I think Limitless combined. I think the top 8 is added into the record here, but he did win it all. I'm not really sure the format of the event, but it was 2-day. Everyone got a Fell the Dragon mat. They had uncut sheets of Star Wars Unlimited, which was truly insane. I didn't even know those existed. That really stepped us up to reach out to Asmodee this week and be like, wait, can we do this stuff too? So we're very interested in bringing this kind of event to America. And I do want to shout out El Valle del Jedi because they did an amazing stream of both days. They have a podcast. They make weekly videos. They are like, from what I can tell, and I don't understand Spanish, so I can't really watch and get anything from them. But like, they are doing sort of the same model as we are with content. Only they're also going to these big events and live streaming. I think they're really great. The stream, I think you can obviously appreciate in whatever language because they had an awesome overlay. But especially if you understand any Spanish, you should definitely check this channel out. They are great.
Use the closed caption. Boom.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh yeah, true. That could probably help. And I talked to these guys following the event. They were really helpful in like getting me the information and everything. And here's that Blue Bossk list that you mentioned, Justin, which is what has led us to, or one of the things, like the big Boba weekend, as you said, Justin, for SCG, and then this winning Spain on the same weekend has kind of led to this current weekend that we're living in now, the event that we just went to yesterday. I was expecting a lot of control, and I was telling people before the event, I was like, dollars to donuts, Justin's going to win. Like, no one's going to be able to beat like his Sabine that consistently if everyone's on these greedy restock control decks.
Yep.
Yeah, and I
played. Forget about the boogeyman. The boogeyman gets you.
I played 3 Bossk. My top 8 match. One was green. Won all 3. The top 8 one was pretty close, but I think this is sort of like shows the pathway. If there's like a new deck one weekend, that the next weekend you might see it a little bit more, just on like the pure sort of excitement factor there. So this was, I think, 2 or 3 people played Blue Bossk at a 30-person 1K. Which is pretty big, and then one top 8'd, and I think the other guy, 2 top 8'd.
2 top 8'd. Yep.
So and so both copies of that top 8'd, and it did some pretty impressive things, like the card draw bounty, death mark, on an early play.
Yeah,
like pretty solid. Like you get a removal that draws cards. It's a little slow, but this was. Got a lot of card advantage, I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's really funny, like when Bossk was released, like I think one of the first things talked about on our release pod was like this blue Bossk deck. And then like, nothing kind of came of it. And then, someone just kept putting in the work and like kind of figured out the best angle for it. So it's cool to see like there was something there, and like this, this individual like took it and worked on it and like found the right time to play it. You know what I mean?
Did you face this at all yesterday, Steve?
I did not. I faced the green version round 1, and he had 2. We went 3 games. Kind of rushed through game 3 because of time, but like he had some crazy. The 2 games he beat me, he had some crazy starts with like the ramp card on like my R2, and was just like ping ping. So like he like turn 1 bountied my R2. And basically each turn just pinged it to death while playing a resupply. And then just before it was like my 5th turn and he was dropping a relentless. And
I think it's actually one of the worst matchups for Rey Blue and Rey in general. It's just boss screen. I didn't face this.
Yeah, that was definitely hard.
I didn't face this yesterday, but I did talk to the guys who were playing it. It's not my favorite. It's a little slow for me. I did actually test with Phil from the Draft Hangout on Friday afternoon because he was repping it. And I was like, oh, can I get some games with it versus Rey? And it was very, very grindy. But I think it's probably really good. Like, there's some things in here I really like, and I think red can help. I think the red blue actually can help battle against Sabine, but this is not. This deck is like pretending Sabine doesn't exist,
Yeah, that was
which
my
is my
issue
issue with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I put one up for the Patreon guys in the Discord, like my take on this deck after it
Cool.
won, and I leaned in like there's no reason to, and I think my version is probably a little too blue, and you still need some more of the red cards. But like in my mind, if you play this Bossk deck correctly, like I think your pillages can, and correct, like someone's probably gonna disagree, but like I think your pillages can be in the board. Like I think you can have more
No, I
units
completely agree.
and more blue cards and like really lean into your childs and stuff like that. Because like a similar grindy deck is like Hondo, and you can beat the crap out of them with the childs, and like you can still do that here. And so one of the things that we found is like like removal spells are really good, but like when your guys do something and can like affect the board, like this game is so important to fight in the arena that just like if you're just constantly one for oneing, like they're gonna get those turns where they do two things, and then you're just like, oh well,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
lose.
The
So-
one thing,
I don't like
the
pillage
one
at all.
thing
but
I
go
really
ahead.
do like is it's got the client Avenger combo. You get that lockout, and it's just impossible to lose.
Welcome to the lock.
lock.
Welcome to the lock.
Welcome to the lock.
I think
That's
the
a good-
card I
that's a
hate the
good
most
callback.
in the main deck, even more than pillage, is the three make-in openings.
I like two. I think two's reasonable. It
Yeah.
works well with your ping.
It does
Yeah, I
work
think
well
that's
with
the
the ping.
concept.
I guess that is the concept. Okay, I can get behind that. But like,
Yeah.
man, that card does not pull its weight most of the time. But obviously, like when you play against Boba or whatever, it's just gas. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to go take a look at your deck later and also see what I can do with this, with
Yeah.
some of like my ideas behind like why we play control, which is not to be pillaging.
I'd probably play like enticing reward into this deck. Like, doesn't
can
have
definitely-
many bounties here, and like it just feels like that could be something that's really good too.
Yeah, I tried doing what's it called? The Quarry, because I'm like obsessed with that card, just so you can get like a client or a Pershing. But and I think I had some other 3-drops in there, but yeah, enticing reward for 3 is completely reasonable. Like that card is so busted. But like that's the beauty of it, and like I'm excited to see what you take with my deck. Is like I've run into other people who are the champion of a deck archetype or whatever, and they're so reluctant to have you fiddle with it. And like that's the complete opposite of our like ethos here at like KTOD and in the Discord. It's like, and what I say and we all say is like, take this deck, take what you like, change it. Like, you know, Teddy just top forward the 1K with Qi'ra 30. Like he made that deck his own. Like all I continue to hear is like people doing well with, you know, some of the decks that we've pushed and putting their own spin on it. It was actually funny. One guy in the Walkling like was saying his changes, and I was like, oh, so you're pretty close to my Kashik list, to be honest, bud. So he figured it out himself too. So it's like, take it,
especially when they come back and share, right? Someone's like, oh, I ran Bobby's list, I made these changes, this is how it went, this is why it's good, and that's helpful to everyone. It's helpful even to me. Like, oh yeah, you thought about this and tested this, and now that gives me some more information. So I love that, and I never would have won as much as I did in Destiny if it wasn't like taking good decks, making them better, be it like randos online or like my teammates. I mean, the Ewok list was like my teammate Shane beating me with it in the matchup that I thought was unwinnable, and I was like, okay, I actually have to go look at this sick list, and then
the Ewok clips, baby,
took out all the junk and put in all the goods.
Yeah, but like, look
the
at
changes you made to the blue. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, you go.
I was just gonna say the changes you made to my Gen Con Blu-ray really just put that to the next level too.
Yeah, and I think like
Collaboration.
that's just teamwork, right? Like you even said, I think if someone else worked on this, it would be really good. And I said, yeah, well, let me be the person to do that. And it's doing a lot of the things that I like, and also like being able to get games with Chrono and be like, okay, how can I actually battle against Sabine? And he's and I said, I don't remember who said it, but I woke up the next day and I was like, lightsabers, is that going to work? And then he was like, great, and then it was great. The lightsabers were sick for me yesterday.
Yeah, dude. And like, guess what, guys? We're all still winning. Like you guys
Well,
won.
that's
The
the
people
thing.
on our Discord won. Like, guess what? You can help each other out, and we're all still winning. Because you know what? At the end of the day, it's like you got to play the games.
Yesterday.
You look pretty salty in this
And I did
picture.
not.
I think you're salty about how much tequila they gave you. I've never seen so
Dude,
much
that was
liquor
nuts.
left on the table last night. They poured Steve and Zach got neat drinks, and they were like poured all the way to the
They
top.
filled the glasses to the top. Maddie,
Oh my
remember
God.
that
Yeah, we don't need to
shot
talk
corner you
about that
got
night.
that
Yep. That's right
like the
where I went
perfect
in my mind.
game?
I go, I don't want to talk
That's
about
what it
that
was.
night. Yeah.
So
That
we
was
had our
crazy.
1K. We got 29 players at Great Stories in Waynesville. Shout out to Great Stories. If you've watched any of our videos, you know that's where we play, and they've supported us a bunch. The top 8 was Blue Ray, me in first place. I went 5-0. I beat Justin in the 4-0 match. Then Yame and Justin with Sabine Green were 2 and 3. And then we had a Han Yellow player, a Vader Blue player, and then Sunder from our Discord played Bossk Blue as well as another guy there, and then Teddy, Qi'ra Green. And then, so Justin, you, Yame, and the Han Yellow one, and Teddy beat me in the top 4. Was 3 out of 4 people that I had to face in Swiss. So I think I had like a pretty tough way up there. But what do you guys think about yesterday, Justin? I think if you guys played out the top 4, I would have seen you take victory there. You did play Yame, right?
So he was the one who was hedging a little bit. Really cool guy, and you could tell he wanted to play it out kind of, and the three of us were kind of like, it was getting late. Hey, can we just chop it up and get to where this picture's from, which is dinner and some drinks. So I told him, he agreed to split, and I was like, hey, you really wanted to play, huh? And he's like, yeah. So I was like, all right, why don't we play? I'll take it seriously, like as if it still has the same context it has. And he had mentioned that he's followed along with like a lot of the conversation in the chat and the Discord about like Sabine and the mirror and stuff like that, and kind of wanted to like experience it firsthand. So I did win that one as well, and it was fun. It was a good match. But yeah, I thought overall Sabine was good. I tinkered with the cash op list in the morning. I feel bad because I didn't have my computer account, so I couldn't link the deck. But that being said, the list itself was a little bit wonky. It did well. Obviously, you crushed me with the Blu-ray. In Kashik Operative, I've updated it post this event, and I actually feel really, really good about that list.
This one is what you played, right? The list on the screen.
This is the one I played, and the wonky stuff was like the one Dodonna, who should have just been the second in Delphi.
Yeah.
The one X-Wing was just vomit-inducing. Like I felt bad because every time I drew R2, it was gas, and I was like, how did I fade you only having one? And then Fighters for Freedom was really good in the deck overall, so I was happy about. So some of the stuff worked out well. Some of the stuff, was kind of flops, and I went back to Metal Ceremony, and it was up and down on that card. But overall, the deck, it lost one game total to non-Bobby Sapphires. Felt really strong. Beat a Boba Yellow round 1, 2-0, which was cool with like some of the lines we've talked about behind the scenes, and beat Zach's Han Blue. That was a matchup I hadn't played before, but that was a good match, but it felt like really in my favor, which was nice. And just kind of it did Sabine things. Continue to win with it, be aggressive, and you don't have to worry about some of those end game states that you might have gotten into in your top 8 match.
Hey, let me ask you this: since you started playing this game, how many non-Bobby Sapphire games have you lost?
So I lost one at Gen Con, and I've lost to CJ, but I haven't lost anything else.
Did. Okay, so 2.
Yeah, I lost to Eric on the very first pre-release.
So pre-release.
Going pre-releases, that's deep.
Yeah, but I haven't lost a tournament game to anyone other than CJ, Mike, or the Krennic that came in second.
And here's the list Steve and I ran. And if you watched any of the content this week, you've seen this. So I don't want to talk about it a ton. But we did add the lightsabers in for Sabine. I thought it was going to be a big Sabine weekend. Not that it would be played the most, but that it would win the most because of the control. Right. And so I really wanted to angle lightsabers. Steve, the other day you said you were going to play a third lightsaber. On our tournament prep podcast, Steve said he was going to play a third lightsaber to tech against Justin. Did you do it, main deck?
I did. My list was a little different. I played -2 redemptions, +1 lightsaber, +1 takedown.
Cool.
That makes sense.
I was ready, all prepared for Justin. I was like, I'm not going to lose to this guy. And I never got paired.
It's coming for him.
The biggest thing for me in losing in the top 8 was that I couldn't deal with multiple relentlesses. Yeah. I could deal with the first one because I don't have to burn a lot of events. And the fells do a lot, like get a lot of work done. Like I can, and I bring in the other rivals fall and stuff. But the force throws did like nothing for me in those games, unfortunately. And I had seen success with them in testing, but I need to come up with something else for relentless. So I think I'm going to change something.
I wonder if that's like confiscate because this color palette has, and then you have your one cost in case you need to like throw away to relentless. So it's curious what you're gonna do.
I think I would rather be on covert mission. What's it called?
Covert strength or whatever.
Yeah.
Mystic reflection.
No, not Mystic. No. I want. So my thinking for relentless. This is probably too much information for the pod. This is like, I want it to be something I can play out of the row, so that when I have to target the relentless, even if I have to pay 3 for it or whatever, I can still I can resource it early and not worry about it, and it'll be there for when I have to play against the relentless, and then go that into rivals or that into takedown. I mean that into fell.
That's smart.
And also, I don't want it, and I don't want it to be non-blue because I want to be able to hit it with Queel. So if it's the heal 3/1 or confiscate, it'll just go to my discard pile, which is like not what I want. So I want it to be blue. So I think the leader in my clubhouse right now is Covert.
I've been playing that card, Covert Strength, in the Hondo deck, and like when I don't have it, I'm like sad. That card is, I mean, granted, it does more in Hondo, but like still, like that card is sneaky good.
Yeah, so I've got to figure it out. I think
that's wicked smart.
I think everything else is tight and good, but yeah, that's how deep I'm going on like how do I deal with the relentless. And if anyone else has ideas on how to deal with relentless, I'd love to hear those too. Maybe I want to do frozen and carbonite for 7 or something. Who knows? Because it's just the fact that it attacks me and then like has a barrage for 10. Like I was winning. I really thought I was going to win both of those post-board games, but like a barrage for 10 took out 3 guys.
Right.
And I was like,
that's the problem with entrenching it. Is they can just use it as a barrage stick.
What were you gonna say, Steve?
I was gonna say the most success I've had against the relentless, and I'll first let me echo the sentiment that I really didn't like the force throws at Gen Con. So I agree with you there in that regard. But for the most part, my main plan with that is just getting a little rinky-dink ship up there and using Luke. I guess Bossk yesterday, I was able to first claim, then next turn play Luke to make it a 2/2. So he had nothing he could really do, and then my X-wing just killed him. I think
that's cool.
I think you can afford to burn an event to get in a fell for one of them, and then you got to try to maneuver the second one with Luke. And if they play 3, well, you just got to hope and pray at that point.
Yeah, I was certainly trying. It just didn't work out for me.
Did you ever do the event first thing?
Yeah, I did. I would burn a takedown because I don't really need takedown. So I don't have that many events, so I was making sure not to resource them in that matchup either.
No, but not burn, play it, claim on the turns going into it, play it, and then the second one works right away if it's fell.
Oh, I didn't do that. I never had an opportunity. Right, I just never. He had so many Star Destroyers that I couldn't necessarily be like, oh, he's definitely playing Relentless here, because if it's Avenger, I've got to attack first, and if it's Devastator, I've got to attack first, or shield up. So it's tough. It's definitely good tech against this deck, and I'm going to continue to work on it
first.
Yep. All right. And then there was a slew of other 1Ks yesterday. Oh, I ended up screwing this up when I was trying to shrink it, but all types of 1Ks and store showdowns, and it's just there's so many events right now. It's a really good time to be playing competitive Star Wars Unlimited. So I think there were 5 or 6 in America, and I didn't even get any. I guess there's some international showdowns here, but yeah, just tons of events right now, and PQ starting in a couple weeks.
Is that a Gar yellow in the top 8 on the one that's cut off?
Yes, that is a Gar yellow that came out first.
Bo-Katan blue in the bottom left, 3/3 still, but still.
That's dirty.
Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. I think that anything can be decent. You just have to get the reps and know how to play. I don't know. I'm sure a ton of people looked at that. A ton of people did comment Blue Rey isn't good, or it's just fine, it's not that great. And I think it's legitimately really good, and I think it helps that I have a ton of reps on it. And I'm sure there are a lot experienced. And we know Gar Yellow has potential because Maddie, you were on that early and it was really strong. And I think the Tarkin Blue that got played by Nick in PA yesterday, I know it was a small event, but if I'm just thinking about Tarkin Blue, that sounds like it could be pretty good.
Tarkin Blue really impressed me at Gen Con.
Someone played one yesterday too.
Yeah.
I think the deck is definitely
I think he top.
got some
just
game.
missed the top 8.
Yeah, it seems really
That's
smart.
the thing too. Especially like if you that's like the best time to play something off the wall is when there's freaking 30 or under players, because they're definitely not going to see it coming. They're all going to be worried about other stuff. So that's the time to play like an obscure deck that people don't are looking at your cards and not know what they're doing, because
Yeah.
you're just going to hit them.
And
Whereas,
remember
like,
that,
if it's,
table that thought, because that leads into directly what one of our listener questions is today.
cool.
So yeah, just a lot of Han, a lot of just a lot of meta stuff, but it's diverse, right? There's like nothing, you don't see anything that's like, oh, the whole list is this deck,
Yeah.
It's like some Hans, some Bobas, some greens. I think the biggest surprise from this slide is like very few Qi'ras, maybe one here. But I think that speaks to how hard that deck is to play.
It's hard. I mean, it top forward your guys, and then it topped another one.
Yeah, I think Palp Yellow beating Sabine would be a surprise to some, but I think that color spike for Palp is actually the one that's the best against Sabine.
Where's that one?
Right in the middle.
Stealth
Oh
Miss.
yeah. So I actually have been playing a bunch of Palp Yellow. I got off of it a little bit this week to work on the 1K, but I was doing Palp Yellow when I saw the Boba Green that won Europe a couple of the 54 card deck, like and the McClunky start
deck as Palp.
Yeah, exactly. Right. My thought was like, oh, what if we put this in Palp? Like that seems like a great start for Palp. And I got run over by a bunch of Speens, but anytime I could get the Bazine, Greedo, or Salacious plus McClunky start, I won those games. And so like if you mull for them and you hit, like you can win that matchup. It's not that bad when you get the McClunky start, but it obviously isn't super easy. It's just it's winnable is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Right.
And I do like that deck. And when I was rebuilding all my standard decks the other night, I almost took it apart, but I decided to keep it together because I do still like it. And then there was one event, another 1K in Virginia that had 24 players that was won by Qi'ra. Of course, I just said that on the previous slide. I forget this was the next slide. But we had all the deck lists get posted this morning, so I figured I'd post this. This is cool because it's a Qi'ra with 3 timelies. And I think like Wu mentioned this morning too, but I'm like, if I'm timely, I want Reinforcement Walker, man.
Yeah.
I lost yesterday because of a Reinforcement Walker that I just couldn't deal with, and he healed 9 and then decided to draw the other one. And yeah,
that card's underplayed right now.
It's completely underplayed, and I think it's great, and I think it would be an excellent addition to this version right here.
Yeah, I'm trying to find, like, I used to love playing, and I think there's like a deck there. Like, I used to love playing freaking Piet with Reinforcement Walker. I still think that like is such an insane combo. And, like,
it is. It's
got a big juicy butt. It eats either card advantage or it heals. If you can ever do it for 2, like you said, with the timely. Like I've been trying to find ways to fit it into Qi'ra 30. It's just with
that was my next question for you. Is just like, do you like this list better as a 30? Do you need to play Childson if you do the timely and reinforcement 30? Because you could just play the other things and rely on the ambush for later in the game. I also don't know if I would ever play 3 timelies in addition to ECL. It's probably a 2 up for me.
Yeah, I'd probably play it 2 either way. I think if you're gonna go no Chilton, you need to play like your phase. You probably need like 3 phase and maybe even 1 cell block guard to just be like, all right, I'm gonna chain sentinels until I can get a little later. My issue with playing, like, I don't know if I want to play Gideon Hask on 4, because like one of the most popular are on 6, like to not ECL it, to timely it, is like one of the best lines with this deck is you can ramp and then you can ECL it like right away, and then your turn matches up well. So it's paying an extra 1 to do it with him when you don't have an ECL, like in a 30 point, is tough. So if I was playing 30 point, I don't necessarily know if I'd want the Gideons, although like a sneaky Ruck is probably really good against all these blue Hans. That card's traditionally been good against blue hero.
Yeah, I
like the ideas here, especially 1 Palpatine.
Yeah, I might max the Lompikes or find another 4-drop as well if I was going to do the 30 point and really rely on timely, because Lompike is an excellent timely target as well. That only costs 4. So, and we could potentially find others in blue green that are just.
Isn't it just trying to like timely Death Trooper, right?
Yeah, that's a great line.
I imagine that's a big draw here.
I think Avenger 2. I think Devastator 2.
Yeah, but like I don't think you're doing like Lompa. I think it's trying to do that on 3, and then it probably has its, because you look, it's got a lot of threes. You've got the consortium in there. So I'd imagine that you're also, you can timely super laser tech, put some damage and stuff like that. Which then you can finish the job with Qi'ra. Well, that wouldn't be the damage, but you get what I mean on that. And then I imagine that it's sort of trying to do that. And then if you see the Gideon and Rook, it's probably doing that or Long Pike with the ECL,
Right.
and like kind of snowballing it. And then you've got your other timelies for like the end game with Avenger and so forth.
Yeah, I like the idea of 2 timelies with this ECL and getting Walker into the mix here. I think that's where I would start. If I was to do it with 30 point, I'd probably have to finagle some things around.
This is cool though.
Yeah,
But it's already got the wheels turning for what I want to work on. A version of 30 right now.
this top 8 is crazy. 2 Qi'ra ECLs, a Krennic ECL, and 5 Bobas. 4 yellow and a green.
Gross.
Like,
Dude,
no
I
wonder.
think Krennic is still good. Like,
Yeah, he's
I've
fine.
been thinking a lot about Krennic. It's just Kira's ability so cracked, but like, I also like a version. Yeah, like I said with Piet, I think that is sneaky.
Yeah, I mean
Still
he's a
sneaky good.
timely, right? Like he's his own timely. Like that's just a
exactly.
different slot that's doing the same thing and how you wanna play it. You just have to have it on board first. And he doesn't work with the low drops like Justin was saying.
Yeah, you would just like Vader, and like you could bring back your Snow Trooper Lieutenant so you can pump him. So like you can pump your Piet, and then like if you're playing Krennic, now your Piet is say it took 3 damage and it killed it, or 2 damage and took a Sabine. Now it is an extra attack because it's with Krennic. Like there's things you can do. I think there's a 30-point Krennic with Piet in the like that you could play.
Did the Gen Con guy have Piet?
I never played against it. I have no clue.
No.